Um, awesome. All right, cool. So, welcome everyone. Again, this is another great Vital event. So today, we are featuring VVC, which is our Vital Ventures consulting arm, and meeting the founding team of Phimentum, which is a great startup in the oral health space that we were fortunate to work with this past summer. So again, just for anybody that's new to Vital, Vital is Northeastern's healthcare innovation core, and we strive to connect students to this unique intersection between business, healthcare, and entrepreneurship. And weekly we bring you guys speakers, but now we're adding a more experiential element of Vital through VVC, which is again Vital Ventures Consulting, which we will talk about more and some more details about that as well as we go throughout this panel and event tonight. So today specifically, we have again, as I said, the great founding team of Phimentum. And so what we're going to do today is talk about their journey as founders, how they got to where they are, because they do all come from different backgrounds and have different expertise. And so, feel free to start thinking about some questions that you want to ask. And, again, nothing is off the table. It's all about learning and, discussing what we want to learn about entrepreneurship specifically and how we can, incorporate that into our everyday lives and what we're learning at school as well. So to start, do you want to introduce yourself, starting with Melly, and then we can go through the team?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you again for inviting us to this panel. We've been working with you for the past year, and it was very, I mean, you were very resourceful, and it was very helpful. So again, we're very appreciative of what you have done for us, and it's a pleasure to join you in any event. So my name is Melih Motro, and I'm a dentist and an orthodontist by training. The entrepreneur side of me came out about 3 years ago somehow. I'm a researcher in general, and at the same time, I'm an associate professor at Boston University and teaching orthodontics. So we're preparing dentists to become orthodontists. But my research side was, we were discussing, Chalian and I am friends for several years now since I moved to Boston. And we were discussing several things, and this idea came to us of, how we can, speed up certain processes in orthodontics. And it kind of blossomed from there. But I will talk about that a little bit later. Let me give Ariel and Chalian the mic.
So this is Cha. I just jump in there. Chronologically, let's go through it. So, like Miri said, the whole idea came from our discussions and conversations and picnics, family picnics. So then it evolved into technology merging, marrying with medical and in particular orthodontic. My background is in computer science, machine learning. Nowadays, people like to call it artificial intelligence. Well, actually, it has been called since early on. And we start basically talking about the problems, some example projects, and then it evolved to a product that hopefully will help dentists doing orthodontics. And thankfully, Ariel joined us later on. Me and Ariel has some background. He actually was the person who hired me to my first job after my PhD, after graduation. And also, he came actually to my thesis defense as well. And I'll let him introduce himself. He's the wisest of us, so we let him speak less, so that it doesn't show that we know we're much lower beings. Cool. Go ahead, Ariel.
Yeah, I don't know about wiser, but wise crack maybe. sometimes. But yeah, my name is Aurel Cordero. My background's also in computer science. I did my PhD in artificial intelligence and security as applied to voting systems, actually. So it's been kind of relevant recently. But after grad school, I was very interested in entrepreneurship. So I joined several. Well, I joined one startup, and we ended up selling that to Yahoo, and that was a computer vision startup. And so I've been doing computer vision since then, and artificial intelligence, and about 5 years ago now, I moved out to the East Coast and worked at a company where I hired Cha, and after that, I still am fascinated by entrepreneurship. So it wasn't long before we decided to start another company. And then I'll introduce Javier. He's the fourth member on our team. He joined us just a few months ago, actually. And why don't you introduce yourself, Javier?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Javier Ballester. I'm an industrial engineer. I did a master in business development, and while I was working for a German company, and recently I came to the United States to do a master's in business analytics. Around 2 months ago, as Ariel just said, this magnificent team that I couldn't say yet who of the three of them is smarter or wiser, as Cha said. Each one of them are extremely good at what they do, but they realized that maybe they would need someone else joining the team to help them or advise them or work together with them, I like to say, on some of the more business oriented things of the startup. So after a process of interviews with them and working on a project together to see if I would be a good fit for them, they decided that I was a good member to be the fourth part of this company. And since then, I've been working along with them and enjoying my journey very, very, very much.
Awesome. So welcome, Javier, again to the team. So yeah, so let's start with our discussion today, talking a little bit about your business, Phimentum. So like, can you talk a bit about, so for those who don't know who Phimentum is, can you talk a bit about like the vision for your startup, and then what exactly is the problem you are trying to solve with Phimentum?
Absolutely. So when we started this journey, our vision kind of evolved from the starting point to now. Let me tell you a little bit about that. So when we started this journey, we were trying to automate all the processes that an orthodontist handles when seeing an orthodontic patient. So in that sense, that our goal was to make sure that the diagnosis and treatment planning is so clear and so easy that almost with this push of a button, they would know what to do next. But then we realized, okay, we can do it. This team came together to be able to do that. But our big vision was to be able to make all the not just orthodontists, but general dentists to be able to perform this orthodontic treatment as well. The reason for that is we know number of specialists are very low in the United States and in the world, and versus number of general dentists is much higher, and they have much bigger access to the population. For example, if a patient needs any treatment, any dental treatment, the first person you will trust is your family dentist, not a specialist. So that's why we came up with this idea and the vision saying that if we can make the dentists, general dentists, or non-specialist dentists perform orthodontic treatment, then we can reach a much bigger population. We can make, especially children, because our focus is on children, many more children benefit from orthodontic treatment. and potentially for the world, we can change, this access problem. So that was our vision.
Awesome. Okay, so I know that you talk about that's your basically the vision for your company. However, I'm wondering in terms of the timing, do you think that this is why you think this is a good time to work on this problem? Because I know that like in ViTAL, for example, they already have like offer like this type of solution. So why you think this is a good time to do this, and why you think that like you have the competitive advantage to go head to head with like Invisalign and other similar brands out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me just give some basis for what we are doing, and then I can explain more how we're different. First of all, Invisalign or other companies you may be hearing on TV like Smile Direct Club and so on, these are all aligner companies. What aligner is a plastic tray that you wear on your teeth, and it applies some pressure to the teeth and move the teeth in a way you want. However, the big problem with the aligners is that it requires it requires significant compliance, meaning that if a person doesn't wear that tray, the treatment, outcome cannot be achieved. In orthodontics, the main population, or in business terms, main target market is children. So more than the adults. I can easily say at least 70–75% of the population in orthodontic population is children still, not the adults. And compliance becomes a major issue with children, and therefore aligner companies, even though they want to penetrate this market, especially the under 18 teenagers and so on, they couldn't because the kids do not wear Invisalign well. And when they don't wear it, the outcomes are not very well either. Therefore, we know that as every orthodontist knows that. And as we realized that, we figured, well, you know what, we can do better. We can come up with better results. The treatments outcomes can be much more ideal. And we can actually treat children who need orthodontic treatment versus only adults. So it gave us a competitive advantage, but I think our goal is much bigger than winning a competition. We are not in a race or anything. We're trying to treat children, and that's our biggest goal.
And in terms of the technology, I think you brought up a good point. Like, well, why now? And so one of the issues with treating children with braces that requires a lot of skill and knowledge to be able to perform this. But certain technologies have emerged that make this a lot easier for general dentists to be able to perform if they could get the information they needed to do that. And so we can do that. We have a network of orthodontists who work with us. But orthodontists are very specialized. The time is very valuable. And so one challenge has been to try to get the most out of their time. And so some of the technology that we've developed is able to achieve that. And that's due to relatively recent advances in technology. So I think this is a really opportune moment to go for this business.
Great answer. I have a follow-up question on the technology part of your Phimentum. Can you talk a little bit more about how that help Phimentum achieve your vision? And yeah, can you just talk more about that?
Chad, do you want to take it?
Sure. So we bring together two things. One is the materials. It's, you know, there are other similar businesses like recipe businesses, like they send you both recipe and the veggies and the ingredients, right? And this made a fairly well business recently. You basically receive the recipe and the ingredients as well. You don't necessarily go out and, you know, try to find all of those. Everything is ready to make, and you just follow the recipe, and you end up with a homemade, fairly good meal. So one part of our business is very similar to that. So we bring together the necessary materials and the recipe. Recipe here being the execution plan or the treatment plan. So we train our dentists to follow up steps for the treatment, such that they have the materials, and when they perform that steps, they are able to come to an accuracy close to an orthodontist. So that's one part of our basically technology. The other part is the part that helps us to get the most juice out of the orthodontist knowledge. Like I mentioned, orthodontist knowledge is very valuable because they're specialists. What we did was we prepared the case in such a way that, as Melih mentioned, it's almost like a button click for an orthodontist. It's more than that, but it's much more organized than a usual or a case in the wild, such that the orthodontist needs to spend much less time, so that we get, like I said, most juice out of that time. In that sense, we can reduce the cost of treatment production or execution plan production per patient. Was I able to answer your question?
Yeah. Thanks for that. And so Melly, I have a question for you. So since you're like, after do a little bit research on your background, and I know that your expertise centers around like automation of orthodontic diagnosis and treatment planning. So I'm wondering what trends you see are like shaping or disrupting this space, and how do you think that Phimentum like fits into the bigger picture of this wave of digital transformation?
That's a great question. In general, first of all, AI started to hit as well as in any sector, as in any profession, dentistry as well. So artificial intelligence is becoming a part of research in dentistry and other dental professions as well. So I think the combination of specifically 3D technologies, machine learning, and especially advances in imaging hit the dental profession in a way that now everyone is becoming more digital. Like every office has their oral scanners, meaning that instead, I'm sure everyone knows that ugly, the trays that you put in your mouth, that big bulky thing that you almost feel like you're gonna, I don't want to explain the details, but anyways, so all those things are now vanishing because of the digital technologies. Now we have intraoral scanners. Now we have 3D, we can scan the face or head in 3 dimensions to see every detail of the problem, anatomy, and so on. And therefore, our plannings are getting more detailed. And also our outcomes or the treatment results are getting better. So it is becoming, a lot of things in orthodontics were almost like when you're learning orthodontics, there's so much trial and error. But now we can predict how the outcome will be, or, a certain process you handle or whatever you do in that specific appointment, how it's going to be next, and so on. These predictions are available. Therefore, Invisalign type of systems or other 3D companies, other companies using 3D technologies are kind of evolving around that. And Phimentum coming to play here with the, I mean, you already met Ariel and Charlie, and they're at the edge of this technology. They know what they're doing and so on. And we are using all this 3D technology, computer vision, machine learning all together to be able to let general dentists who didn't train for specifically orthodontic treatment to be able to handle that with our systems, with our technologies. And it is not being done yet by any other company. So therefore, I think we are the leaders in that sense.
Great answer. Yeah, moving on. So this question is for Arel and Cha. So I know that you your background is not in healthcare, but still you're here. So just wondering what excites you the most about working in healthcare, and in terms of the technology. I know that Melly has touched on some very exciting trends in the space, but just wondering how far along are you in the development of your ML technology, and how you see that contribute to the overall package that Phimentum can offer.
Sure. So, well, my background after grad school was, as I was saying, we went to Yahoo. We were doing consumer, we're doing more consumer applications, and for me, it felt a little bit frivolous. And so, working in healthcare is it seems a lot more. A lot more grounded in people affecting people's lives, and for me that's very that's something that really motivates me. And so these tools that we have in computer science, artificial intelligence, they're very general. They can be applied to all sorts of problems, and Melly was mentioning how they're also being applied to dentistry, but there's just so many different places where you can apply this to learn about a problem, to make a process more efficient, to better predict the outcome. And so this is all very very exciting, and a lot of opportunities there. And so what we have done at Phimentum is to take apart the problem and try to focus on certain areas that are pretty tedious for orthodontists, that we think that the level of technology that's out there could do a very good job at solving for the orthodontist, because and that's where we focused our effort. And because also with artificial intelligence in particular, something can be very good, like an algorithm can be very impressive, but if it's not good enough to some level, it might be useless, because if something is if you require something to be perfect, and then unless you're perfect, it might not be useful. So another thing as we're picking problem is to find those problems where we're confident we can get good enough to be useful. And Chai, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I think that's a great answer. I mean, overall, I think we should highlight that most of the problems, this problem is also huge. There are many machine learning problems, technological problems, computer science problems in it. We are, in some sense, taking only the baby steps, but those baby steps still create some impact that we believe to make enough change to create some value. Yeah.
Just a note, I mean, what Charlian defines as baby steps are huge steps for any dentist, to be honest, by the way.
And another point that I'll make is that, having the background in AI, as we build out our systems, we're also thinking ahead to where we can be in 5 years. And so the type of systems we build will help us to improve our the algorithms we can build. So for example, data that we collect, we make sure that it's very well structured in a way that's going to be good for for doing machine learning in certain cases, and so there's this balance of trying to solve problems now and trying to solve problems later, and we're trying to always keep that balance.
Great. Thank you guys so much for talking about the technology and your influences specifically. So now I'm going to dive into some of the trends and opportunities we see for the future in this space, because at the end of the day, Phimentum needs to be around to help dentists to continue to serve this need in the future. So as a team, what do you see as the next frontier for AI in this ortho space and healthcare at large? And are there certain influences that you look to as companies that have done it right, and somebody's are there certain footsteps that you want to follow, and where's the thought process going around that?
Well, so in general, if I understood the question correctly, now, as I mentioned, machine learning is becoming a part of, it's still in dentistry in the research level. Only a few companies are doing machine learning or at the back end to perform certain, automate certain processes, but not at the level that, at least as we know of, at the level we are doing it. So I think we will be, we are at the, at the front end of these things, and I think we will keep on being at the, at the front end of these things. So we will be still the leaders, we believe, in the next few years as well, because like the concepts we were discussing 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I realized only recently they're coming out as as research papers and so on. So people recently started integrating these technologies. Well, as well as, but we already had that 2 years ago and so on. So I believe that will continue to be the case. The advantages is a private company, you always can act much faster than any research institution or university. And we're using that advantage. Plus, as a small company, as a startup, we have the agility as well to move forward with certain structures. So I think that gives us the edge.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to complement Melih's answer a little bit. So let me give a few more concrete examples. There are definitely a lot of progress in material side technology. I mean, in terms of technology side and other things as well. At the material side, we start seeing people started printing their own sort of materials at home. Like maybe it will come to a point that everybody will have a 3D printer at their home, and hey, Mary, my case is it's not a really tricky case. I'm like an Invisalign type of guy, so why don't I just print that at home, and then maybe there's such a potential direction, or like another maybe potential direction might be eliminating again the current dentist's load by maybe diagnosing beforehand. Maybe you'll take a picture of your mouth. Maybe you won't need to make a visit as frequently as you're doing right now. You'll take a video of your mouth, or maybe scan of your mouth, and then your dentist will say, you know what, you don't need to see me before 3 months, or there is a suspicious point here. Why don't you just stop by next week? So there are those directions. These are maybe more into the future, but in our problem, I think our problem is, like Miri said, it's fairly current and it's fairly involved. It's almost like developing these autonomous vehicles. It's a huge problem, and it will take a lot of years. I mean, some of it started happening, but the problem is so big and there are so many sub problems that we need to solve all of these small pieces to be really efficient at it. So I think delivering orthodontics is such a problem. It's a fairly big problem, and as we become better at the sub problems, we will start showing more impact. For example, going into rural areas, maybe going into other sides of the world, we need to be really efficient in some of the sub problems that we're doing. So, so I don't really think it's going to be something like, oh, we solved this, next problem. I think the problem itself is big enough and current enough and huge enough to be sort of at the headlines for a long time.
And if I can add something to both Meli and Cha, and as well, using the question that Lynn was asking before, if we thought that this was the correct moment or why, we honestly think it's the best moment. Why? Because right now what we're doing is merging the best part of two worlds. One, that it's the world that we know and everybody knows that works. That's the traditional braces that every orthodontist is using and knows that with that method, they can fix every single bite or every single malocclusion or every single treatment that that patient has. That this differs us very much from the aligners, let's say. And the other one is the world of AI that, thanks to Cha and Tarell, we're being able to do magic things, to being able to make orthodontists move to a different dimension. We're making the traditional things that everyone knows and it's not scared about using, and telling them, hey guys, from now on, all the things that you know that work, we're gonna help you make it better, and making it easier to reach to a huge number of people that right now, unfortunately, they don't have the access that they would deserve, because everyone deserves good health in their mouth and of course in every part. But one of them, the mouth, that it's the one that we are trying to get our focus in.
Yeah, I think Javier, you really explained that well. And I think, it's really interesting to see this intersection with, this kind of just burst of technology coming out of everywhere. And honestly, every industry, you see AI and ML taking over. So that's really cool, and something that we're just really excited about, especially to see where that technology goes in the future. So now I kind of want to talk about some of the challenges that you faced. So whenever you come up with a startup idea, a lot of times your friends will doubt you. Your family will say, hey, stick to your traditional jobs, go the safe route. So there are a lot of bumps along the road. And I wanted to, ask, and anyone can take this question, but, how have you handled adversity in the past over the last few years? And, maybe what are some good practices that you go to kind of get yourself out of complicated situations?
Maybe I can start with it. I think the best thing we all do, all four of us, is we brainstorm very frequently. We see problems as problems that can be jumped over or can be handled and can be solved. We don't, at the end of the day, we don't make ourselves miserable because there's a problem ahead. We are here as a startup to solve problems. That's our goal. So, we think. We think out loud, we discuss and come up with ideas. And not every time every idea works. We try, we fail, we try another one. So I think
in between we cry.
What is that, Charlie?
In between we cry a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. We don't show our emotions too much though. But yeah, I think this is the best thing we do. We believe we can solve problems by discussing a lot. One other thing we do is we don't try not to assume anything. We try not to assume anything, and assumptions are the biggest risks in success, and especially in startup. Sometimes we assume something that we didn't realize, and one of us kind of reminds us about that. Well, you make an assumption here, and so on. So I think these are the two core items. Charlian, Javier.
I want to add a few things. I came across with this similar question multiple times in the past, and I would like to highlight a few things here, hoping that it's going to be different than what we usually hear. First of all, it's always hard, when we face a problem. We don't feel like, oh, that's a problem, let's enjoy it. That's not it, of course. We really, get upset sometimes, get emotional, etc. So that's a very natural, I guess, first reaction. But I think what Mehdi said right was the support system is fairly strong, I think, among four of us. Whenever we come across a problem, we force us to see it from a different perspective or multiple different perspectives. So that helps us hopefully approach the problem. And also, having all those said, we are not necessarily successful by now. I mean, we didn't fully prove that this model works, or this is the way. So we are still struggling. We are still in it, and we're gonna see all together, hopefully soon, if there's light or not. And so I think the general answer, maybe it's like life itself. We try to be persistent, and we ask, we always help. We need help from each other. Otherwise, it's always difficult.
Yeah, I would like to add something too, because I think the question Nirvan you asked it's a very powerful question. Of course, there's some things that maybe from the outside, and of course from the inside, we're not gonna lie, they seem scary. But when you're saying like, why don't you follow your parents, for example, advice of why don't you take the safe route? What's the safe route? Is that because you're working for a company that's already established that's gonna make you have an income at the end of the month? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's the answer. But what we're trying to do, for example, in Phimentum, is much more than getting an income. We're trying to solve a problem that involves the healthcare of a lot of kids, first in the US, and if we grow, that fingers crossed we're going to grow, hopefully around the globe. And being able to live a life, let's say, and getting romantic, that our goal is to make something as special as this, is completely worth it to wake up every day and face every single problem that, yeah, we cry and we're there, whoa, there's one more obstacle to keep moving and we weren't expecting it. But there's a reason that's more powerful than many other things that are behind many of the questions that people closer to you, like friends or family, may ask. Another thing is that in my case, that I can talk because I'm the newest or the latest member in joining the team, you have to be honest with you and know who you're joining. And I'm talking of me because I joined the team. When you have a team of people that are, let's say, big in a professional way and in a personal way, you find out that problems are easier to fight or to attack, because there's a team that works together and cohesive. A startup is a very cohesive company, let's say, because you wear many hats. I'm maybe taking care, let's say, of the business things, but at the same time, maybe Chas says, "Hey, Javier, what do you think about this?" And he's talking to me about things that are coding related to AI, or Meli with his question, and we're all trying to bring something to the table in every single thing. So what I'm trying to say is that, of course, there's moments that scare you, but there's something that goes beyond all of this, and it's making sure that you have a goal like the one we have, that's a very interesting and very nice, let's say, because we're trying to solve a problem with related to kids. And another one is the team that you join is extremely important, and in our case, it's amazing team, honestly.
That's great. Yeah, those are all really good answers, and I think it's really great that you also acknowledge the fact that it is tough, and there are a lot of tears at times, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs talk more about how they just adapt and bounce around obstacles, but there is, I'm sure, a period where it's just a lot of pain and anguish because you've put so much energy working on something, and you have to pivot or start again. And so I know we're at 6:45, but I want to end this bit with one final question for all of you. And that's, if you had to give one piece of advice to someone just starting out, that could be starting a venture, starting their career, you can take it as you want, what would that be?
Maybe we can give each one. I don't know, but my motto is always dream big. Never, and put your level high as possible, that you feel that you never will be able to reach, and try your hardest.
You want to go, Aaron, or?
Sure. I think for me, it would be to find, well, especially mentors and people in your life who you can ask to demystify some of the things that might seem impossible for you right now, because there are plenty of people that have the experience to see through what you're working on, and so don't be afraid to find those people and ask them for advice and help.
Yeah, I'll do like Meli, and as he started with a sentence that goes with him. Mine is that a ship is very safe in the harbor, but it wasn't made to be in the harbor. It's made to discover the oceans and to sail around the world. And with this sentence, I think that it's the guidance that I use to be brave and go out there, and as they nowadays say, get out of your comfort zone, because it's very comfy to be in the comfort zone, but you miss a lot of things.
Yeah, again, I will answer. I mean, I usually see, people emphasizing the leadership, being the pioneer, etc. I actually have an alternative answer to that. I would say be the second one, be the third one in the team, be the fourth one. I think it's very valuable to not always lead, to be part of the team as a second, as a third. I mean, first of all, it's a great experience to also follow. To follow, for example, in our case, actually, most of the vision came from Mehdi initially, and we helped him to shape. And we are fairly content. All of us are fairly content. At the end, it becomes all of ours. But he was the person who led the very initial thought. I think I wouldn't be insistent on like just being the leader. I'm gonna do. There's this particular idea. Just be the second, third. It will be yours very quickly.
Exactly. So I mean, yes, initial vision maybe came from me, but this initial vision evolved so much with Çağlayan, Ayana, and with Javier now. It is like much bigger, much more solid. So I mean, by the way, there is no second, third, or fourth. This team is like every member is an equal member, meaning that everyone actually leads this team. So we kind of change the roles every time. I mean, Çağlayan becomes the leader in certain occasions. Ayala becomes the leader on certain occasions, and Javier as well. So we that's what Javier said. Like we wear different hats at every time, and this is very normal.
Awesome. Thanks for all the very insightful, great insights from not just about like Phimentum, but also your journey with Phimentum. So I think now we have around 10 minutes left. So let's open up for any questions you may have. Just feel free to unmute yourself or just type in the chat, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess I can go. I personally really like hearing your advice. So if you could start your career over, what would you do differently?
Well, if I started my career over, I would be a computer scientist, I guess.
And I'd be the orthodontist probably.
Yeah.
I would marry earlier on. It made me a better person.
Well, I mean, to the joke aside.
But also, it also helped me a career. I mean, yeah, I mean, they're not independent.
I think we're getting influence from each other a lot. And to be really honest, I'm telling my wife now that, you know, I don't want my son to become a dentist. I want him to become a computer scientist, and I want him to learn some coding and so on. So I'm sorry to Irene. I think she's the pre-dental student here, and but you know, I'm not sure the AI will change the world. I feel like things will change a lot. Dentistry is a lot of fun. I love it, orthodontics especially. But now, if I were starting my career over, I really did that big shift.
You would do double major.
Double major in dentistry. And
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I always think that we want that we don't have, and I think that if I had to do another thing, starting my career after several years, I would say, why didn't I do what I have done right now? So maybe I say something, and when I'm doing that something, what I really wanted is to do what I'm doing right now. I would say enjoy the journey and try to learn from everyone. And it's not about a career that you choose; it's the people you meet and how you learn from them, and you bring things to the table for them too.
Just one note to that: there is no limit to what career you may choose, or you know, when you choose a career, it doesn't mean you get stuck with it. So you can always change your path in time.
Except it's a PhD.
Well, thank you so much.
That leads me into my question. So I was just wondering, because like you said, you guys are developing technology to speed along the orthodontics process to make that easier. And I was wondering if you thought that in the future with technological developments, if like orthodontics and dentistry in general, would it just be made completely obsolete?
We have all different thoughts about that. So
yeah,
why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe it will be made obsolete. We still need healthcare professionals, dentists, or I don't see jobs being automated away like that. Even orthodontics, the problem with orthodontics is that there are very few there are 10,000 in the U.S. and there are 15 million kids who need treatment, and as a result, 11 million of those kids don't get treatment. So I think there's still a lot of demand for specialists. But what we could look at is how AI is affecting other fields like radiology. I don't know that much about radiology, but maybe Melly can give more insight into that. But you can see how technology has really changed the job description of some of these fields, but there's still an important role for an expert. So it might change how people do dentistry or where they do dentistry from. That's my opinion. I don't know, Melly, you're in the trenches, so what do you say?
I mean, so of course, Charlie and knows it better, but machine learning is about data, and if you have a lot of data, you can automate certain processes. And is in every health problem, there are certain issues that are very rare and requires the art of the the doctor, meaning that they need to make a judgment based on some previous experience and so on, but also they need to come up with some creative ideas to resolve some issues. So certain problems still require this art part of this healthcare. And that I believe that part will still be intact, and therefore we will need specialists in that sense as well.
Thank you.
I think Lori had a question about a remote island.
Mm.
We're working on it as we expand.
I was told a long time ago that that would be a good profession for me, to be like an activities coordinator, like at a resort somewhere.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
someday I'll be sending an email and posting like social media pictures.
so
of me there.
we found a remote island. We're just trying to see
Not
how many kids need orthodontic in that remote island right now.
Well,
Numbers.
I'm figuring that'll be a way for my kids to come visit during the holidays. They'll want to come visit me if
Oh,
like
I
I'm
see, I
in
see.
someplace cool. I don't know if it was on video before, but I had one of my sons kind of shoulder in here because this is all relevant. He is going to be one of the trial participants of the Phimentum system. So he has his appointment set up for December 23rd right now. But I'm on the waiting list to see if we can get in earlier. So hopefully that'll work out. We'll do before and after. We'll keep you all posted
Amazing.
on that.
Yeah,
And he was wearing a Northeastern sweatshirt. I don't know if that wasn't even planned, but you know, we're big Husky families here. So
Fantastic.
excellent.
That's awesome. Do you guys want to, in the last few minutes, maybe give an update on, where you're at right now? I know with COVID, things were thrown off track a bit. But maybe just like very high level, like what are the priorities right now? I know Javier just hopped on the team too. Um, so yeah, anyone can really take that, just so we all are kind of on the same page.
Sure. So where we are is we're still early on, but we're in a pilot phase of our company, and so that means we have the technology, we have the processes, we have a lot of the all the foundations that we need, the legal work, all of those prerequisites, and now we are just starting with our first patients. And as Lori mentioned, her son's going to be one of our first patients, and we have a few other dentists who are starting a patient in the next few weeks. I also volunteered myself to be a guinea pig, so that I can go through the process and really see what the experience is like from a patient's point of view, and to be able to see how the dentist experiences it. And really, I want to put my mouth where my money is, and
Literally. Literally.
Yeah, and so I basically I want to I want to understand what that process is like, and I have a tiny bit of crowding I can also fix at the same time. So that's what I'm doing. Someone else.
Yeah, I think basically we are very close to putting those braces into somebody's mouth, and hopefully we want to multiply that with multiple patients and multiple dentists.
Yeah.
And regarding what you said about COVID, yeah, maybe it has slowed down some things, but in looking to the positive things that COVID has brought is, for example, that we're trying to reach out to dentists, and with the excuse of COVID, we're doing everything through Zoom meetings or Google Meet meetings. And this opens a window that before we thought it was going to be very difficult, that it's the weekend. A lot of people work from Monday to Friday. All the dentists have their schedules packed Monday from 8 to 8. Same for the rest of the weekdays. And in this case with COVID, they are very used to say, hey, well, why don't you listen to us during a Zoom meeting? So this is something positive that COVID has brought us, that we are able to reach people no matter what day of the week is, because for us, there's no, as Melly used to say, Sunday is Monday, Monday is Wednesday, all the days of the week are weekdays. So this is something positive that we get from COVID.
All right, well, thank you so much to our incredible speakers, and thank you to everyone for attending and our ventures team. Our next and last event of the semester is going to be on December 3rd. It's going to be a really fun community engagement event where we will be giving out some Grubhub gift cards, so keep an eye out for that. And also be sure to follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, and subscribe to our newsletter. All those links will be in the chat, and we are currently still having our Rosie's Place food drive. So if you'd like to donate, we'd really appreciate that. And that link will also be in the chat. And yeah, and if you have any questions or ideas, please feel free to DM us on Instagram or send us an email at vitalnortheastern@gmail.com. But other than that, we hope you all have a great night and thank you again.
Same here. We recently created Instagram page for Phimentum, Facebook, etc. You can follow all of us at Phimentum. You'll find us in the social media, and we will be very happy to have all of you as followers.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye, everybody.
this was great. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.